Sorry, you caught me eating my lunch. What is it? It's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you like peanut butter? I've been eating it since I was a little girl. Did you know that over 300 products were created from peanuts? I know. That's unbelievable. Not just peanut butter, but other products too, like flour and other food products, laundry soap, medicines, shampoo, shaving cream, paint and stains, paper, gas, insecticides, charcoal, and so many more. Can you imagine the ideas somebody had to come up with to make all those products from peanuts? I mean, they had to do a bunch of experiments to perfect the products, but it required someone to be curious about the possibilities, to explore the ideas. So how do we get curious? Well, it means we get creative. Create means to invent or produce something new. Sometimes we think creative only means with music or art or writing, but it applies to anything that requires new ways to think about things in lots of areas, like science or technology or industries. How do we invent something new? We have to be open to the possibilities, something that clicks in our brain to think about things in a new way. Remember when we talked about the Latin word respirare? That's the same starting word for breathing and spirit. Well, there's another word, inspiration, that also comes from the same starting word as breathing and spirit. Inspiration is the moment when that still small voice of God inside you gives you the ideas that lead you to create new things. Have you ever written a book report? Or made up a new recipe? Or used a toy or a kitchen tool or something you found outside in a different way than the other kids? That's creating, because you came up with the words to write the book report, or to make up the new recipe, or find a new way to use something. You had inspiration. The person who came up with those 300 products developed from peanuts was George Washington Carver. Here's his story. Have you ever eaten peanut butter? Think about a peanut butter sandwich, or perhaps you like your peanuts sprinkled on ice cream. Peanuts are nutritious and are used in cookies and other foods. Can you imagine making laundry soap from peanuts? Or hand lotion? Or printer's ink? What about shoe polish, glue, or carpet? All made from the peanut plant. You may not be able to imagine making those things from peanuts, but there was someone who actually did. He believed there are infinite possibilities, even from peanuts. His name was George Washington Carver, and he was born a slave during a time when most black people who lived in America were slaves. While he was a baby, the Civil War ended, and he was free. His parents were no longer living, but the people who cared for George were loving and kind, and he learned a great deal from them. George loved to learn, and he found great joy in learning about plants. Many hours were spent in the woods each day, studying all the growing things and listening in his heart to what they could teach him. George felt the Spirit was talking to him through the plants. When he grew up, he said, "I love to think of nature as unlimited broadcasting stations, through which God speaks to us every day, every hour, and every moment of our lives, if we will only tune in and remain so." George's neighbors and friends thought tending to flowers and plants a foolish waste of time, so George made a secret garden where he could care for the little plants he called his pets. He would carefully dig up plants and move them to his garden if he thought they needed extra care. If he accidentally broke a root or stem, he would cry as if he had hurt a friend. When people realized the plants he cared for grew healthy and strong, they called George the plant doctor, and they would come from miles around to ask his help. He wanted to keep learning, but there were no schools nearby. So he left his home at 11 years old to go to school, even though some people thought he should become an artist or a singer. George eventually became a plant scientist, which is called a botanist. He spent as much time outside in nature as he did in the laboratory and the classroom. George understood that it was not enough to work hard. He had to be open to what could happen through his efforts. So what about those peanuts? Why did George learn so much about peanuts? The southern farmers had grown cotton plants for many years, but growing cotton every year was not healthy for the soil. Growing beans or peanuts gives the soil the nutrients needed to stay healthy. George encouraged the farmers to grow the peanuts, and it worked really well. The soil became healthier, and there were abundant crops. But when the farmers asked George what to do with all those peanuts, George had to think. He knew there were many possibilities, maybe infinite possibilities, if he were willing to work hard and let God's power flow through everything he did. He said, "God is going to reveal to us things he never revealed to before if we put our hands in his." The peanut is an unusual plant. Peanuts are really not like nuts that grow on trees. They are more closely related to beans. The plants have little yellow flowers that bloom and then bend over and grow back into the ground. The peanuts grow on the end of that stem under the ground, hidden from the sun. George worked a long time in the laboratory to learn everything he could about the unusual peanut plant. He shared everything he learned with the farmers and other scientists and became famous. Years later, after George had discovered over 300 uses for peanuts, a man asked, "Dr. Carver, how did you learn all those things?" George answered, "From an old book." "What book?" the man asked. "The Bible," George replied. The man was surprised and asked, "Does the Bible tell about peanuts?" "No, sir," George explained, "but it tells about the God who made the peanut. I asked him to show me what to do with the peanut, and he did." George never took credit for his accomplishments. He said, "Without God to draw aside the curtain, I would be helpless." George felt that it was divine power that flowed through him and all creation. George was a great scientist who changed the world with his work, but he was humble and called his laboratory God's little workshop. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes the ideas don't come right away. And sometimes we have to put in hard work to get to the place where the spark of the idea happens. And we can get impatient and frustrated. The next time that happens, just take a break. But believe in yourself that your ideas will come if you take time and listen to your insides. As you find your way to your own creativity, think about these words. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. Do you know what the word infinite means? That means more than anyone can possibly count. Let's breathe and say it together. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. That's all we have time for today. Until next time, have a wonderful day, a wonderful day. Whether you stay inside or you go out and play, I will be back to see you, my friends. So be kind, be patient, be loving until we meet again. Bye-bye.